could not believe. Things smaller than light itself, which you could not see and could not believe.
We are Transforma from Berlin. My name is Luke Bennett, this is Simon Kral and Barish Hasselbach. We've been working for the past 20 years making videos, installations, working with musicians, theatre, and we're presenting now our current work in Braga.
Our work Approximation plays with the idea of getting closer, and by that we mean closer to the material or to the foundation of everything basically. Like wanted to come to INL and use their scanning electron microscope to observe materials that we've been working with for a long time in Berlin, but we couldn't, unfortunately, due to the pandemic. So we decided to take a closer look at materials in our studio, at the same time sending samples to the INL and having them observed there. We used the samples and the data from the observation of our materials at INL as an inspiration for our studies in our studio in Berlin to create sounds and images and new sculptural elements that we filmed.
The title Approximation is getting close enough or relatively close to something without really ever getting there. So the TBC, to be confirmed, is the idea that any experiment or study is never really finished. There's always the hope that you get closer to an understanding of something, but during that process it usually throws up new questions, which then makes this process continue and continue and continue. So to be confirmed, but maybe to be continued.
We have some materials which we work for nearly 15 years now, and every time we discover something new on this special material. I don't know, maybe on a certain piece of stone or so. You have this process as well in the scientific work, that you come to a point and there suddenly just a new door opens and you have again another new world discovered, and you start from the beginning. So we thought, how can we get inspiration from the INL? So we sent some samples to a work group at INL. They sent us back some data and imagery.
So the way that this collaboration was handled was that a set of common materials that artists use was shipped to us, and we tried to analyze them in two different ways. One, which is related to the work that we do here. We are a group working optoelectronics. It was to understand how those materials interacted with light. And this first analysis that we did was to shine different types of lights at the different angles to see how their materials would react to these different conditions. It was very interesting because some of the materials they had quite peculiar properties. So they would add different light reflections depending on how we do the analysis. So these again are things that we are trying to mimic in our own materials and in our own devices, which artists already used conventionally. So the other thing that we were interested was, how did the materials that they send look like, looking at them at the scale that we're used to. So if we would use our microscopes, which in some cases we are capable of seeing individual atoms, how would the materials that they send would look like compared with the highly engineered things that we look at? So it was a good surprise that some of the things were actually very similar, even though the biggest challenge was that we received around 20 materials, but we could only look at around 7 or 8, because our tools are actually not, they do not allow to look at the kind of material. So it was very positive experiment.
When we compare the artistic work with our work, I think we have to be very more pragmatic than them. We have to look at the results. They have to be beneficial. They have to have some use for us in terms of properties that we want, in terms of everything. But I think there's a bridge between our work and theirs, in terms that we are always trying to improve, and the work is never finished, and we have always something new to explore, such as the artistic work.
A lot of new things seem to be unknown.
In the actual installation, as you enter, you see a large full-wall video projection. On the opposite wall, there's also a projection, which is basically the same film, slight variation. The images are a collection of things that we filmed in a studio. Some of them very slow-moving structures, sometimes quite dreamy, sometimes extremely quickly flashing, almost like stroboscopic. The sound that you hear in the installation space is a collage of sounds that we've created ourselves, some music, and the narration is a text read by a computer voice which has been collaged from the answers from a questionnaire which we sent to INL scientists. In the back corner, this same text is presented on a screen in a sort of flow poetry, because there's fragments of these answers have been put together to create a new kind of narrative for the piece. It's an immersive experience. It has very light moments and very meditative moments, but also quite strong moments with very extreme sound and image.
I don't believe in magic.